Today, we're going to talk about the idea of ordering in a restaurant. So we're going to take the idea of ordering in a cafe and we're going to expand it out on either end, right? Because whereas if you're just in a cafe, you might just go in and get a coffee and leave, and you get to pay the bill right there. When you're in a restaurant, you're going to have to both get the table in the beginning, and you're also going to have to get the bill at the end, right? You're also likely going to order food, so you're going to want to be able to personalize it, right? So those are the things we're going to go over today. So when you first walk into the restaurant, when you first walk into a restaurant, you're going to get greeted by one of three phrases, depending on the time of day. If it's before noon, you're going to get greeted with buenos dias. If you get to the restaurant, if you go into the restaurant from noon till like sunset-ish, once it starts to get dark, you're going to get buenas tardes. And then once it's dark outside, you're going to get buenas noches. Now, buenas noches can both be a greeting of like good evening, and it can also be a good night, as in I'm going to bed, right? Buenas noches, right? As well, if you've been spending time in Latin America, you've probably heard the expression of buen dia. This is a really useful phrase that you can use basically anytime it's light out, buen dia, right? And you could get greeted like this in the very morning or at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So going to the next slide, the first thing that you're gonna be asked when you walk into a restaurant is you're gonna get greeted, and then you're gonna get asked, para cuántas personas? And so I've given you here three answers that we can have as for the number of people, right? We go with una mesa para number of personas, right? Una mesa para tres personas. Por favor, please. The second option is that we can go with nosotros somos tres personas. We are three people, right? And if you're just dining by yourself, stick with the phrase of solo soy yo. It's just me, right? Now, once we get past step one, right, and we get into the restaurant, we're obviously going to be asked more questions by the waiter, the mesero, right? So the mesero is going to come over to the table, right? And oftentimes, for the most part, they're going to choose one of four expressions, right? ¿Qué te pongo de? ¿Qué te sirvo de? ¿Qué vas a? Or gustas algo de? Questions more or less translate to what can I get you to drink? What can I serve you to drink? Would you like anything to drink? Are you going to have anything to drink, right? Now, these phrases in and of themselves don't really matter much, right? Just like they don't really matter that much which way I choose to go in English, right? What matters is the word at the end. Do I ask you, what would you like to eat or what would you like to drink, right? Right? So if you hear at the end of the sentence the word tomar, well, or beber, if you hear at the end of the sentence tomar or beber, lesser so in Latin America, you know that they're asking for your drink order. And if you hear comer, well, you know they're asking for your food order, right? This word will be enough to get you through this situation, right? A little bit of like awareness is going to help out a lot, because in most restaurants, whether you're in Mexico, Chile, or China, if you walk in, the first thing you're going to get is something to drink, and the second thing you're going to order is your food, right? So keep that in mind as we go through this, right? 5 common drinks and 5 common foods for you to use in these situations, right? So I have un agua, a water, un café, a coffee, un jugo de naranja, an orange juice, un té, a tea, and una cerveza, a beer. And for the food side of things, I have los tacos, easy enough. El caldo is soup or broth. Los frijoles, el arroz, and la quesadilla. And I also include here 3 words that are nice for food, right? To be able to personalize it a little bit. The words of con, with, sin, without, and aparte, on the side, right? So I could order, for example, yo quiero los tacos con pastor, sin cebolla, without onions. Agua con limón. I want a water with lemon, right? Yo quiero tacos con salsa aparte. I want tacos with sauce on the side, right? Role play these situations together, and then you're gonna get a chance to answer the questions yourself, right? The question that gets asked by the hostess is, buenas tardes, para cuántas personas? And you respond with, boom, wonderful, right? Next question asked by the mesero, the waiter, is ¿Qué van a tomar? What are you going to drink? And you respond with, perfect, wonderful, right? Number 2, right? Buenas noches, ¿cuántas personas? And you respond with, boom, perfect. ¿Qué te sirvo de comer? And you respond with, wonderful. And scenario number 3, ¿qué te pongo de tomar? Tomar, right? And you respond with? Wonderful. And ¿y de comer? Wonderful. Perfect, right? We're gonna run through this scenario a couple of times to get ourselves seated at a restaurant, right? We're gonna run through this scenario a couple of times to get seated in a restaurant, right? So I'll be the host, you will be the person dining, right? I will say my lines and then you will respond. If you would like to take a few minutes to kind of write things down and get everything organized, feel free to pause the video and then we'll keep going. Okay, cool. So I am the host. I'm greeting you. Buenas tardes. ¿Para cuántas personas? Wonderful. ¿Qué vas a tomar? ¿Qué comer? ¿Algo más? Wonderful. Right? Let's do it again. Buenas tardes. ¿Para cuántas personas? ¿Y qué te sirvo de tomar? ¿Y de comer? ¿Y algo más? Perfect. Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Para cuántas personas? ¿Y qué te pongo de tomar? ¿Y de comer? Ok. ¿Y algo más? Wonderful. Good. Right? And if you noticed, I changed the expression as we went through the video. I went from ¿qué vas a tomar? To ¿qué te sirvo de tomar? To ¿qué te pongo de tomar? Right? But at the end of the day, the expressions don't matter. It is what is at the end of that sentence, right? Tomar, or beber de eso, and comer. Now, the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna ask for the bill, right? The easiest and simplest way to ask for the bill in Mexico is just to grab the waiter's attention and pretend to sign the air. That will get the check brought on over to you, right? We can also use two of our expressions, yo quiero and me das, right? We could say, yo quiero la cuenta, I want the bill, por favor, please. Or, me das la cuenta, por favor. Can you give me the bill, please?